still stop. Three, two, one.
Is there anyone here that would like to communicate with us?
Putting a dip in your hip, a glide in your stride. Welcome to the mothership, the home of the travelers of the universe, with shows throughout the week. Everything you want, everything you could need. From the paranormal to the supernatural, from the spiritual to the unknown, from emotions to comedy. You can find us at Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and so much more. This is R.I.F.T Nation Network, the RNN. And now, your featured show. Shall we begin?
Good evening. Welcome everybody to Mysteries Beyond the Scenes, and at 8 o'clock, the Otter's Den. And Keith is joining us tonight for Mysteries because I think this whole Jimmy Hoffa thing has just been so fascinating.
It was the conversation the team had the other day was simply amazing.
It it it
Between
really it's crazy.
between what we dug up, the numbers we got, your map,
Lisa,
it all just fit together.
so we need a boat now because I think after you guys watch this episode tonight, we're all going to want to get on a boat because and then everything that kept popping up, Keith, on the map, I kept like going, OMG, OMG, look at this, look at this. But, for those of you, I think, of course I remember Jimmy Hoffa. I think for those of you who don't know who Jimmy Hoffa was was the president of the Teamsters Union from like in the late 50s up through until he was put into prison for jury tampering and racketeering. And then President Nixon at the time lessened his sentence and he got out of prison. And one of the stipulations was he could not become president of the Teamsters until 1980. And Hoffa was he was the working man's man. Everybody loved Jimmy, didn't they, Keith?
Yes,
They
did.
loved Jimmy Hoffa. And when I show you all his birth, wait, I haven't even shown you his natal chart yet. You're going to flip out. I know. Hallie Odell is going to flip out because not only was Jimmy Hoffa an Aquarius, which is the humanitarian wanting to help everybody. Guess what? His rising was Aquarius. So he was a double Aquarian.
Well, it's no wonder why he wanted to be, head of the Teamster Union, to help all the union members.
And what he did, for those of you younger folks, he brought the wages up for the workers. He brought the conditions up for the workers. And I remember when the Teamsters were during that time back in the 70s, late 60s, 70s, it seemed like the Teamsters were always going on strike to improve the conditions, improve the working conditions, improve the wages.
Factory conditions back then, it wasn't pretty. Not at all.
No.
We think it's not pretty today.
Oh, no.
Should have seen back then.
And he came in and, apparently from what, I've done a little bit of research, allegedly, he did have some syndicate or mob connections, which, everybody, there are so many different theories and conspiracy theories of who did this to Jimmy Hoffa, but I think we all know now who did this to Jimmy Hoffa. But the big question is, where is Jimmy Hoffa? That was the big question. So, but what's interesting about Jimmy's story is you have to put your mindset, kids, younger people, kids, back into 1975. We didn't have phones. No. We didn't have ring cameras.
No, we didn't have none of
We,
that.
we just had witnesses. Well, I
Yeah.
saw him here. And if you did, Jimmy, as a matter of fact, called his wife from, guess what? A payphone, kids. The payphones were, at one point, you would put a dime in them.
Yeah, there were glass cases on the corners of the streets and a little folding door, and you'd have to get in there and get the door
Yeah.
shut. And there was a phone book hanging from there, usually torn and tattered and graffitied, so you couldn't use it. And you had a little slot, you put your dime in, and then you had to dial
Yes.
the number. You had to turn a dial and wait for it to go back.
Yeah.
And
And
the
then
phone,
they went up to a quarter, and it was like, screw this. Everybody was so mad because
yeah,
the phone calls were a quarter.
yeah, everybody quit using them, so they took them out.
But so what happened is Jimmy Hoffa got out of prison, and the syndicate, back in the day, the syndicate told him, no, you are like 63 years old, you've gotten a great pension, you've got enough money, enjoy your life. Jimmy Hoffa was not a classic, I don't want to say mobster because he wasn't. He was not a womanizer. He didn't go to the clubs. He did not gamble. Jimmy Hoffa was a very honest family man.
He just knew how to get stuff done.
Well, when you see his natal chart, you're going to see why, because it's so interesting. So you ready? And then join us too at 8 for Otter's Den. We're going to go over June, correct, Keithy?
Yes, ma'am.
Because we had questions last night on the Orion Effect RNN show on Sunday of what is coming up. Why is the energy so screwy since April? That was Rhonda said, a lot of her friends, and I kind of found that out today.
Yeah, a lot of people have been having a really hard time with a lot of things.
Yeah, eclipse, Pluto return, but you got it. Pluto's getting ready to go back into Capricorn for its last round with the government. So, boom.
And going retrograde, I believe, right?
It's retro right now.
Oh, okay.
It's retro right now, and it goes back when it goes retro back into Capricorn for 6
Okay.
months. Then it comes out in 1/24/24. Look at you adding up the numbers. 1/24/24. And then it's done.
4.
It's in Aquarius. 1/24/24.
Okay.
What's that number?
4.
4. What's the 4? What's 4?
I'll have to do some studying on
Oh
that.
yeah, because I'm a 22. I'm a 22. So that would be a 4, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, okay. Thanks, you guys, for coming on. Welcome to the Rift Network. And hi, Rhonda. Hi, Crystal. Howie is in the house. Hi, Robert. Good evening, Judy. And welcome to the show, everybody. Don't forget, we are on Facebook Live. Please, we are also on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter. Did I get them all, Keith?
I can't ever remember myself, girl.
Don't forget to like. If you're on YouTube watching, please like, share, subscribe. Right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So with that, let's get to Jimmy Hoffa. I'm gonna put the slides on. But Keith, where are you?
Where am I?
Where are we? We're not on the Jimmy. What's just that? You want me just to go ahead with the slides?
Okay.
It's hiding our faces.
That's fine.
Are you sure? Here, I'll put us
Yeah.
on the bottom. There,
Oh.
there we are.
People
How's that?
people might want to see our pretty faces.
Oh, what a day.
Yeah.
So here we go. Jimmy, there's Jimmy on the right. And look at the little tie. Remember the skinny ties, black and
Yeah.
white, and skinny ties. Jimmy Hoffa went missing in July of 1975 in Michigan. Jimmy was around the Detroit area. Like I said, he was sentenced to 13 years for jury tampering, mail fraud, bribery, pardoned by Nixon in 1971. Now, you all have to remember, Nixon was very, they were all, the Teamsters was very, very strong with politics as well. So let me see what else we got here on Jimmy. There's another picture of Jimmy. Okay, so Jimmy was born and raised in Brazil, Indiana. He was elected president of the local 299 of Detroit. Because of his visionary and self-motivation, he took on the task of pulling various local Teamsters unions to the Midwest. So basically, Jimmy Hoffa was the Teamsters. He brought everybody into one, and then it was like brought them all together. And now, what was funny about this, he was the defender of the downtrodden. And I put in parentheses, Aquarius. That is so Aquarian. Aquarius doesn't like homelessness. Aquarius they are the humanitarians. He invested pension funds and allegedly supplied loans to crime syndicate figures. So all the Teamsters actually owned like parts of Vegas.
That's interesting.
That was, allegedly.
Sure.
He invested. That's Jim. That's just kind of a background on him.
Yeah.
He was very powerful because of his work in the union. He was instrumental in getting the wages equal and greater for skilled workers. Like you said, the conditions were horrific.
Yeah.
Back then.
Yeah, the heat, the cold, the hours, no breaks, pay.
No safety,
No.
no safeties whatsoever.
Nothing.
People would get injured and hurt, and nothing like now. Okay, there's another picture of Jimmy. He looks like a nice guy, doesn't he?
He does, but he looks like he could be Henri.
Oh, I'll show you where that is in his natal chart.
Okay.
Now they told Hoffa, just relax, remember? So Hoffa said, I can't stay away from the only thing I know. So what was the push that kept Hoffa going? Most men would say, you know what, you're right. I need to retire. I need to kick back. He was told by the alleged crime bosses to lay low, enjoy his pension and his wonderful life. So he couldn't get back into it till 1980. But on July 30th, 1975, he was to meet two Teamster officers, one from the Detroit area, one from New Jersey area, in an attempt to gain support to become president of the Teamsters again. Again, last call was to his wife, payphone. She said, and that he told his wife he had been set up. He had such a great love story with his wife, too. Welcome, everybody. So this is Jimmy's natal chart. And we're going to look at this because this is so interesting before we look at the event chart, the day of his disappearance. Natal chart is, in astrology, is the day, time, and place you are born. It's the roadmap of your life. So if you have a small child, and you were looking at Jimmy's, when he was a baby, you would say, oh my gosh, he's going to be a humanitarian. He's going to change the world. He's going to go out and help people that are less fortunate than he is. That's what so what's interesting in his natal chart? Look at this, Keith. Saturn in the 12th house, service to humanity.
Okay.
Aquarius rising, Aquarius sun.
Nice.
I know. Mars in the 12th house indicates so street smarts, charismatic. He was highly emotional. He had lots of friends. He knew no strangers. He was a very serious thinker, very calculating. So, like you said, could be ornery.
Yeah.
Here's where the drive comes from. Mars and Capricorn. Capricorns are intense, driven for power, success. He was a leader. Cannot be controlled. You cannot control a Capricorn. No way in
No,
hell.
it ain't happening.
No, it's not going to happen. So, some interesting aspects in Jimmy's chart were his Pluto, which is power, strength, trined his ascendant, which is Aquarius. He loved to accept challenges. Pluto trined his sun. Look at all these Pluto aspects. He knew from a little kid on he had a purpose in life.
Yeah.
Now, that Pluto quincunx to Mars, though, indicates aggression. So he did have an aggressive side.
Maybe temper.
Oh, Jimmy. Yes. Jimmy, look at that. He's flipping people off. I love that picture. I thought it was funny.
That's awesome.
I mean, people, you guys got to realize back then, people didn't do this stuff on film, did they, Keith?
No, that was no. It didn't
No,
happen.
you didn't flip people the bird on photos.
No.
I thought it was classic. I freaking loved it. So I put it in there. Now, like I said, he was at the Red Fox, which is a restaurant. There's the picture of it. He called his wife from a phone booth and said, "I'll be home shortly. I was stood up for lunch." Okay, there is another picture of the Red Fox. Oh, okay. Now we got the event chart. So what's an event chart? This is the time that his disappearance was. I used 2:00, the time of the phone call to his wife, because we know that's the time. July 30th, 1975. So what does the astrology show us? Interesting points from the event chart. I know you're going to laugh. Uranus was on the ascendant. I knew it. So your Uranus means sudden ambush. He's taken completely by surprise. Jimmy didn't know what hit him. He had no idea what hit him.
There 1 minute.
The perpetrator, Perp was in his house of career, so it was somebody he knew or worked with. Okay. This is what killed me today. Up in his midheaven was Leo. What is Leo? Leo's fire. So he was either cremated, burned, something. Neptune and Cancer, big amounts of water. Jimmy is in big amounts of water. Also, Libra showed up in his event chart, which is 2 people. 2 friends were involved. So we have the perp that he worked with, and 2 friends were involved. Were those the 2 friends he was supposed to meet at lunch that set him up? We don't know.
Probably.
The perp was very calculating and organized. So those are just the key things that we looked at off of the chart, like bam, that hit me all at once.
Yeah.
Okay. This was the funnest thing to do. I shouldn't say fun, because it's just a mystery, Now, this is the event chart. And I wonder if I should post. I'm going to post this chart, this map on R.I.F.T, on RNN's Facebook page, so you can get a bigger picture of it. But what happens is all of those lines on this chart indicate where a planet was and the degree and the bearing on the map at the time of his disappearance. So Saturn represents a body. Mars can represent a car. Mercury represents communication. Venus can represent a woman. So different planets represent different things. And we get the mileage from the ascendant. Okay, so there is where some lines went to, was Lake St. Clair, right?
Yeah.
St. Clair Lake. So we know the event chart indicated water. Lots of water.
Big water.
Big water. Big water. And what was funny is I was listening to an interview from a guy. I don't know this movie, Keith. You may. Something about boys, the boys club, or oh, I don't know. His name is Michael Francis. He's a mobster, and he came
Okay.
out and interviewed Francis. It was the Boys Club or something. It was a movie that was about
Okay.
him.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with it.
Um, well, he came out in this interview. He said, "I know where Jim. I know the shooter." Well, we know he was shot. Mars indicates the weapon, and Algoil, he was shot in the head. So this Michael Francis guy is still alive, and he said, "I know the shooter, and the shooter of Jimmy Hoffa is still alive." And he said, "Where is Jimmy Hoffa?" He said, "He's wet." That's all I'm going to tell you.
Water.
Water. So you made mention of concrete shoes. You had heard that rumor. Remember?
Yep.
So I looked up concrete. It's represented by Saturn. Saturn is in the water in the Cancer next to Mercury. So, and I mean, it's all there. It was so interesting. We kept undercut. Everything kept coming out, didn't it? It was kind of fun.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing, it
This-
flowed. One thing led to another. And boom, we're like, can you
Yeah.
believe this?
I know. I'm like, look at that map. Now, if you notice that little blue dot up in the left-hand side, that's where the restaurant is, where he was quote unquote abducted.
Okay.
Okay, so see, and then you do the. I'll show you the map, but you do. It's all done by math. No mojo. It's all done. This is all done by calculations of bearings and math. Now look at that. Now we like to look inside of what we call a wedge, pizza wedge. Look at that. Now I would look for Jimmy off that little island area. Gets maybe like sonar. Can you get sonar or something?
Sure you can.
Okay, and just go all around that area because those two lines go right to that spot.
That it does.
Yeah, and that whole area of the Lake St. Clair, it lit up, didn't it?
Yeah. And I just noticed the land right next to that is named Riverside. So again, water, river,
Water.
Yeah.
Water. Jimmy's in water, but I think Jimmy was cremated.
And then
before
put
he
in the water.
cremated, and then the concrete hit. Probably cremated. The ashes were probably put into some kind of a little container with concrete, and he was probably put in a boat and dumped in this lake.
Very well could be.
Okay, now see a line. If you notice, the blue line went right to like a little boat harbor.
That is so close.
Yeah, and again, back in that time frame, there were no cameras. Nobody would have suspected somebody taking a cooler on a boat and
No, not at all.
Going out boating. You'd wave to them.
Yeah. And
Now,
especially in mob towns, a lot of people knew enough that if they saw something, they didn't see it.
that's exactly right. And one of the boys that supposedly was one of the persons of interest, I guess they don't call him that now. The boy's name was Chucky O'Brien. Now, Chucky knew Jimmy Hoffa was like a father to Chucky, but they got into squabbles. Now, Chucky was apparently, Jimmy was seen in the car that Chucky had borrowed by a truck driver who almost hit them.
Okay.
Chucky claims that he was filleting a fish that day, and some of the fish blood got into the back seat of his car, so he had to clean out his friend's car. Now, the authorities collected some blood and a hair sample from the back of that back seat of that car. Well, of course, DNA was not around at that time.
Right.
That DNA has since been confirmed that that was Hoffa's DNA and the hair in the back seat of that car.
Not fish blood, Hoffa's blood.
Fish blood. Okay. I was filleting a fish for a client.
In
Okay.
the back seat of my friend's car.
Important notes. Okay, in the event chart. This to me was so okay. So then some other things that came out, like in 2000, what else came out on the event chart? In 2003, a tip from a former resident stated Hoffa's body was under a swimming pool at a house. The police dug up the area and nothing was found. However, if you look at the event chart on the right, I thought, that's weird. I'm going to get that address. So I got the address of the house where they see the pool is down on the left-hand side of the picture. Not only did the line go up to the area where that house was, it went to the exact house, the exact degree.
You can't make that up.
No. So why would the line go up there? We don't know. Was he taken up there first?
Possible.
Who knows? You know, again, Jimmy Hoffa's car was found in the parking lot of the restaurant. It's unlocked because back then, you guys, we unlocked our cars. We didn't lock them. We didn't have to.
No.
No, people didn't steal cars.
Nope.
Well, they did, but we'd take them back.
That we would.
That was one. Now, this was interesting point number 2. A funeral home down in Detroit alleged that a cremation had occurred. To the left on the event chart shows the forensic astrology line hits directly. Okay, to the right on the little blue dot is the funeral home. Look to the left. That line goes directly to that funeral home.
Okay.
So that's where Jimmy was allegedly cremated. And how do they know it was that place? It was the only place that had a crematorium at that time.
Logic says that would be the place.
So why did the line go there? Why did it go up to that dude's house? Maybe he was one of the perps.
Did he work at that funeral home, maybe?
I don't know. I'm going to have to dig more into the rabbit hole of who the guy was.
Yeah, I would like to know that. That might shed a little bit more light on the coincidence of these two events.
So, I mean, it's this map of Jimmy Hoffa was probably one of the most fascinating I've ever done. The lines have hit. And then I need to dig up some more rabbit holes to see where some of the other lines might go.
Yeah, that might give us a little
Like
more shocking.
Where did Chucky O'Brien live?
Yeah.
Because the lines on the forensic astrology, like if I will give one to Michael to use for search and recovery, he will return the map to me and put the sister-in-law lived here. This is where he was last seen. Oh, this is where we found him. Every line tells something.
Yeah.
So when we give a family a map, they have to study the map really hard. And like I said, there's no mojo involved. It's all math. It's
Just
all
math.
the time. You know what I mean? It's all time of the event.
Yeah.
Okay, there's the funeral home right there at Route 1. So I think it is just fascinating. So what was our conclusion Saturday night? that Jimmy was in Lake St. Clair
Yes.
for sure.
Possibly on the Canada side, because that lake is divided in the middle between the United States and Canada, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yes. See if you can. Yeah. See.
So logic would say you would probably run over onto the Canada side to take him out of United States jurisdiction to dump him. At least that's my theory. That's what I would do.
So here are some of the theories where Jimmy might be. That somebody said in a New Jersey landfill. Now, why would you kill Jimmy in Detroit and take him all the way to New Jersey in a landfill? Somebody said that he was put in a steel drum. I found Jimmy Hoffa. He's in Uranus. Everybody has the Uranus joke. Keith, you started that. We need a Keith t-shirt.
There we go.
It's in my Uranus. Okay, another theory was ground up and shipped to Florida, thrown in a swamp. No evidence of that. Abducted by the feds. He's in the Great Lakes. Well, that could be too. Who knows?
That is big water.
Yeah, there's big, but that Lake St. Clair, that's where all the lines went.
Is Lake St. Clair connected somehow to the Great Lakes? Maybe via a river, canal?
Yeah, the Detroit River.
Okay, there we go.
What's Howie O'Dell says? Okay, I'm going to say this. I feel he was placed in a 50-gallon wet drum and sealed and tossed in the river.
Which might have taken him to a Great Lake.
Well, so the Detroit River is right there, Howie. The Detroit River runs into Lake St. Clair.
Yeah.
I'll look up the drum, what the drum would be in my book. Steel drum. But I think they would have put concrete in there because I think that's what they did back then to make them sink, or rocks.
You want the weight and you want to eliminate air. Because if there's air, there's more of a chance for it to be buoyant and to float up, even with weight in it. And if you just put a body in a steel drum, it's probably not going to sink because of the buoyancy of the air. It's like a little boat. So you got to put weight in it.
Okay.
Or you have to leave a hole in it so water enters it, in which case the body's going to rot. If that hole gets plugged up, it's going to expand, pop open, who knows what. You don't want that body coming back up.
Okay.
Not that I've...
How do you know that? Okay. So, let's see. It's been said he was put in the trunk of a car. The car was crushed and then moved to Japan for scrap metal. Shake and Break says that. Japan for scrap metal.
I'm not feeling that one. I mean, I'm sure that's one of the rumors, but I'm not feeling that one.
He was supposed to be under what stadium? Yankee Stadium, maybe too. It's so interesting. This is still. Do you think he will ever be found? No.
If they just dumped him in the ash, his ashes into the water, no, absolutely not. If they did place him in a drum, concrete, what have you, dropped him in, it is possible. If he's sealed in concrete, as long as the concrete doesn't degrade from the water, if they find it, they could open it up. If there's a tooth left, sometimes when you cremate a body, there's a tooth left.
Yeah.
They might be able to pull DNA from it if it's not degraded or burnt. We don't know.
He was burnt.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the Schuylkill River. Sharon says maybe the Schuylkill River. Everybody doesn't think they're going to find him. I would love it if they would find him. I think it would be very interesting.
Oh, I'd love it if it would too.
Donna, no pissing off Keith.
Scorpio, just saying.
I think we should go on a field trip and get a boat with sonar and go around the little area where the mines are.
I would love to.
Let's do that.
I would
We
love
could film it. That would be hilarious. I'm not that far from Detroit.
We're going to have to get a little bit bigger boat than what I got for that big lake. Just saying.
We could get jet skis. Nobody would know what we were doing.
Well, I could hook my sonar up on a jet ski.
Can you?
Sure I could. I'm handy with tools.
Well, we need to get a Jimmy Hoffa field trip, and we'll go live on it.
You know, Melissa's got a point. We might find more than you know. With that being, old mob territory, who knows what's out there?
It could be like an old graveyard.
Yeah.
It could be a graveyard. You know what would be cool? And we'll ask Michael about it. When Michael comes on the show, he has the gizmo.
Yeah.
If we could get some of Jimmy Hoffa's DNA, he has that machine.
Oh, he can test it.
Yeah. No, it beeps and shows you where people are.
Serious.
Yeah. They use it, and they've been very successful with it.
Oh, I'm interested in that gizmo.
Yeah. It's in the inventive stages now, but they're testing it. Michael takes it out. They find people with it.
Yeah. Now
I'm just going to do what?
I'm just going to throw this out. Remind me not to piss her off. Just saying. Since she's Sicilian and the mafia comes from there, she would use tabby concrete, the kind that has rocks in it. Concrete breaks up and degrades. The weight of the rocks still keep them with fishes. Makes sense. I like that.
Yeah.
Just saying. Yes.
Okay. So how do you feel about The Irishman on Netflix? That storyline, Chicken Break says. Does anybody? I don't know. Do you have complete conjecture for sure? How do you feel about The Irishman on Netflix? That storyline. Tell us the storyline.
Yeah, I didn't see it.
I don't have Netflix. I need to get Netflix. So that is I think that is super interesting, Keith. I really love how this chart just hit a lot.
It is. It's mind-blowing.
It's mind-boggling. There's the area.
But a lot of your maps do this that you make. But this one is just, you can't make it up.
No, I can't. You cannot make this up that it went right there and up to, now there's the actual chart. And actually, there are a couple of waterways that another one up to the right, which was northeast. Another lake up there, northeast.
Now, isn't that a direction that we got when we were asking questions?
Yes.
Yes, it was.
Northeast. That's from Lisa from Cobra Paranormal. Northeast. And that's northeast.
Yes.
And that's another lake. But I don't know how deep those lakes are in that particular area.
I don't either. I think Renee looked St. Clair Lake up, and it was like 27 feet deep at the deepest.
Lake St. Clair.
Yeah, that one.
Ground penetrating radar. That's a good storyline, Shake. Melissa, to help find Anne. Melissa, tell us who Anne is. I can Anne. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have a map for. Yeah, she was charted.
Yep. And
Yeah.
I'm gonna get that out and get studying on that and get the boat ready.
A lot of them, we just, I just don't like to put up in case the people are still missing that until the searchers can go look so
Yeah.
that they don't get moved. People
Yeah.
actually do move bodies, unfortunately.
Not wrong.
Yeah, they do. Sharon says just throw the body in a pig pen. Well, now do pigs eat teeth? Because teeth can,
They will eat them.
but it comes.
However, they cannot digest them, so it would come out in the poop.
Yeah,
However, pigs can devour a body very quickly.
yeah, yes. And Michael and that group, I know they do go through and look for teeth. They go through and look for tiny bones and teeth. So search and rescue groups do go through everything. They do. They're angels. So that is our story. Go ahead, hon.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, I was reading about the Netflix thing. Okay, in the 1950s. Okay, thanks, Keith.
Yep.
Truck driver. Oh, interesting.
It is interesting.
So is this true? I mean, is this a true person?
Yeah,
Frank
is it
Sheeran.
fact, fiction? Is it just a movie they
Buffalina.
made up, storyline, or are there actually facts to back it up?
Now, the guy on the one that I listened to, it's amazing how it is amazing, isn't it?
Yes,
That
very much.
the hit on Hoffa came from New York, supposedly, allegedly. But which crime family did it? Who knows?
Right.
Became a top. So yes, Gail, that is the event. That's the mapping.
Yeah.
That's what you get from the event. There's the event chart. That's his event chart. That's actually, or is that his birth chart? That's the event chart.
Yeah.
If you look to the left, the very first planet where it says AC is Uranus. So he didn't know what hit him. It was very quick. It was very sudden. It was very fast.
Boom, boom.
And boom. Up at the top where Leo is, and the sun shows us up at the midheaven that he was burnt. Clearly, clear as day, he was burnt up.
Yeah.
There's no question about that. No doubt up at that midheaven. They know who did this.
Mm-hmm.
They know, and Saturn indicates body. Saturn is in Cancer, which is a body of water. It's connected to Neptune, big body of water.
One thing.
What?
Where the lines went to two different lakes, and we got the other direction. If they were smart enough, I'm not saying I would do this, but if they pulled the teeth, then burnt the body, got rid of the body ashes in one place, took the teeth to another place, well, there's no body, there's just teeth. Legally, teeth aren't a body, as far as I know.
Right.
So if they do find the body, the ashes, there's no DNA to identify it. Just a thought.
Maybe they got rid of the teeth up at that guy's house where the pool was.
That's possible too.
You don't know. This was all planned out.
Mm-hmm.
Because you got Virgo up there. A Virgo won't do anything without planning it. And the perp was in Virgo. So
as fast as it happened, it was planned very well. Mm-hmm. And they had been planning it for a while.
Yes. And number two, to keep it away from him, because the mob people were loyal to certain people.
Yeah.
So that's
so Who'd he piss off? Was it somebody in the mob? Was it somebody in the
Yes,
the
he did.
GOV? You know, who knows?
The mob didn't want him back in the Teamsters Union.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah. So that is the show for tonight. And next week, guess who we're going to highlight?
Who?
The Tiger King, Carol's husband. We're going to look for him.
Oh, that's going to be interesting.
Carol's husband.
That's going to be interesting.
Now, Michael said he wants to come on and tell us all the information about this disappearance of, it's the Tiger King, not the Lion King.
Tiger King, yeah.
Tiger King. Michael knows all about this missing person. So Michael will be on to talk to us about that. In the movie, played by Robert De Niro, and it shows that Frank Sheeran was hired to paint the porch of Jimmy Hoffa.
Okay.
And Donna says, okay, going back to my mafia-born senses, once the cremation to get rid of teeth, I would have given to another client that had their loved one's ashes sealed in an urn. Oh, yeah, put them in another person's ashes. Good idea.
Girl, I like the way you think. We need to talk more. Just saying.
Frank Sheeran confessed on his deathbed as to killing Hoffa, and according to him, it's a true story, the truth of Frank. Interesting. Interesting. Was Carol's hubby found in Europe? I don't know. Was he? We'll find out. We will find out. So, and if not, we will find another one.
Yeah.
Thank you for. You're more than welcome.
Thank you for
I love
popping
doing it. Thank you for watching.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you for watching. So Keith and I are going to get off here. We will get back on at 8 for June. What's coming up in June? Correct, Keith?
Yes, 7 Central in the Otter's Den. Let's get it out there and figure out what the hell's going on.
What the heck is going on? So please come back. Stick with us for the Otter's Den at 8. And thank you all for tuning in. We'll see you next Monday for another mystery.
Have a good one.